Marjorie. How many had to listen to me earlier? It's bad enough you got to listen to two politicians talking the same day. If you listen to the same one twice, and let me thank you for what I think, Marjorie. I've been in public life a few years, and I've said all along, you deal with lobbyists all the time, but no lobbyist would be a mom on a mission. I mean, it's just the way it works. And Marjorie and Marty got a great family, but more importantly, they care deeply and passionately about the sanctity of every human being, every unborn child, every life, which I know we all do in this room, but she's out there on the front lines, and her friendship and her support and her leadership have just been a super thing for this country and for this great organization. And the two ladies with her, now I'm the token guy up here, I guess. Thank you for what you're doing. And these kind of videos and ads, I mean, what lies? I mean, think about this. Do a quick comparison. Because we always know that there's some in the mainstream press who aren't too keen on our message. But think of the examples that Lila has done. And I always point to this too. Two 20-year-olds with a video camera brought down Acorn.
Amen.
Think about that. Keep that in mind. In my remarks to the group a few hours ago, I talked about the willingness to get involved. And I want to thank you again for that. I've said this many times. You are the one advocacy group that has nothing to gain financially from what you're doing. You just do it because it's right. And frankly, this whole conference is about that. So I certainly appreciate that. I thought what I was doing, instead of going through all the, and we got some, what Mike Pence is doing with the legislation that we're talking about here. He's running this organization. Mike is a super guy. Joe Pitts has got a bill this week on Obamacare. We've got good things that are moving to the House. Chris Smith's bill, a high amendment across government that we passed now. Good things we're moving. Unfortunately, we just can't get it through the United States Senate yet. So there are some committed, as Marjorie thinks, some committed pro-life folks in the House of Representatives, and in the Senate too. They just don't have a majority yet. So we're trying to do the right thing. We just got to keep pressing on. But I want to share with you a quick story because this is the one pro-life thing I most point to where we got something done, and I'm convinced today there are a few more kids alive because we did it. And we did it back in my days in the State House. It was early, just been elected. And I was one of those naive freshmen, and we had this bill moving through the General Assembly in Ohio, Women's Right to Know bill. And you probably worked on similar legislation, gave the facts and all the information that women frankly need to know about what's involved here. And I happened to be on the Health Committee in our State Assembly, and as I was moving through the process, I discovered in Ohio that we only had parental notification, we didn't have parental consent. And so we started talking. Some of you may remember back at the time, head of Ohio Rights to Life was Janet Folger. Anyone know Janet and the work she did? Super lady. So we were working on, I went to her and said, this should be parental consent, something of this magnitude. Moms and dads should be involved in a decision like this. And so we decided that when the bill got to the floor, we were going to offer an amendment. And that was, kind of risky stuff, because this bill had sort of been agreed on by and was going to pass and all. Now, Republicans controlled the House, but our speaker, good lady, but she was just not with us. And I had filed my amendment. The bill was being debated on the floor. And in Ohio, we sit at our desk on the House floor. And you got a little panel, you vote electronically. Obviously, green for yes, red for no. There was a white button if there was a page that you needed. And then there was a blue button. I frankly didn't know what the blue button was about. So I was sitting there, I was getting ready to stand up and offer our amendment. The debate had started. And all of a sudden, the blue button starts flashing. And I was kind of looked at it. Looked at the guy sitting beside me and said, hey, what's that mean? And he gave me this look like, whoa, speaker wants to talk to you. This is like when you're getting here, it happened to me a few times in grade school, the principal wants to talk to you, right? So I make the trek up to the speaker, up to the rostrum, and I walk up there, and Joanne says, she says, Jim, I don't want you to offer this amendment. So we got this bill that's going to pass. I said, this is I'm against it, and I want you to offer it. I said, Speaker, you can vote against it, but I'm going to offer it. He said, I think it's the right thing to do. I think it makes sense. And if you want to vote no, and you can win, that's the way the game's played. But I'm going to offer it, and we're going to see who wins it. I tell everyone, that's why they play the game on Friday night, to find out who's going to win. So I said, we're going to offer it. She wasn't too pleased. I went back, stood up, and offered it in. And this is where we worked with the High Rights Life. It was so funny. Earlier that session, this was midsummer. Can't remember exactly the time, but earlier that same session, a few months before, we had passed with a strong majority a bill that required parental consent before a minor could get any type of body piercing or a tattoo. And so somehow that, you know, the left wasn't going to remember that they had done something illogical of why they shouldn't be for this. They weren't going to remember. So as I get up to make my remarks, a friend of mine, a colleague, had worked with Janet at Higher Rights Alive, and he had printed the vote totals for that previous bill, and they had stapled to each one of those vote totals, and how everyone was, it looked like 93 to 5 or something. You have 99 members in the House. They had stapled to each one of those, a little one of those kids stick-on tattoos, you know? And they started passing that out, and it was amazing. The number of folks who were going to speak against us who suddenly sat back down. The end of the story is it passed. It was held up in court. And because a lot of good folks in Ohio were doing exactly what you're doing, we now have a few more kids alive